As we enter December, many people will be thinking about the Nativity. And it's difficult to think about the Nativity story without contemplating the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. No, not Frankenstein, frankincense. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This week, our word of the week is going to be myrrh. But first, a quick word about gold and frankincense. Gold is sort of self-explanatory, right? Chrysos. And then Lebanon, frankincense, is also almost self-explanatory. Frank being strong, bold, direct, incense. It is a white resin from a family of trees that was used to make incense for cultic offerings, a fragrant offering, right? Whether it be incense in a censer or sprinkled on a sacrifice, the fire of sacrifice to make an offering. But our word of the week is myrrh. So Smyrna, myrrh, is a resin, kind of like frankincense, but it's used in its liquid form for perfume, in its solid form, sort of crystallized form for incense, and in differing cases with both, mixed into medicines for a wide variety of different ailments. As to the efficacy of these medicines, there's no way for us to know. But if you look below Smyrna, you'll see myrrh, which is a later synonym that we get our English translation myrrh from. It was adopted by the Romans, myrrh rather than Smyrna, and eventually became the common name for this substance, myrrh. That's why all of our English translations call it myrrh and not smyrh, right? So myrrh was used by the Hebrews, by the Egyptians, by the Greeks, by the Romans, and it's still used today. So let's go back and look at a very early use of it. We're going to look at Exodus chapter 30, verse 23 through 25. This is from the ESV, but I've supplied the Koine from the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament. Take the finest spices of liquid myrrh, smyrnase, anthos smyrnase, liquid myrrh, 500 shekels, and of sweet-smelling cinnamon, half as much, that is 250, and 250 of aromatic cane, and 500 of cassia, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, and a hin of olive oil. And you shall make of these a sacred anointing oil, blended as by the perfumer. It shall be a holy anointing oil. So myrrh and other fragrant ingredients mixed with olive oil to produce an anointing oil, all the way back in Exodus in the preparations for the cultic practice of the Hebrews after leaving Egypt. But now let's go to the most famous reference, Matthew chapter 2, verse 11. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh, Smyrnon. And so there's speculation that this wealth, the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh, apart from its sort of religious and prophetic significance, with Jesus being an offering and myrrh preparing for his death, there's thought that this wealth, because this is quite a wealthy gift that they're given, funds the exodus of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus in Egypt as they flee from the murder of the innocents by Herod. So this is a rich gift, and one might ask, how does a carpenter who's far from home find himself able to just go off into Egypt for years? He may go with a pocket full of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now let's go on to the next use in John chapter 19, verse 39. Nicodemus also, who earlier had come to Jesus by night, came bringing a mixture of myrrh, smyrnase, this is a genitive singular of Smyrna, and aloes, about 75 pounds in weight. So they took the body of Jesus and bound it in linen cloths with the spices, as is the burial custom of the Jews. So they took this compound, aloes and myrrh, so this incredibly fragrant perfume mixed with ointments to cover his body, wrapped in these cloths for burial. And there's a question, are they trying to stave off decomposition in anticipation of the resurrection? Well, there's clearly no direct statement here that would communicate that thought. At a minimum, love and respect and a repulsion against death causes people to do strange things when someone they care about dies. When we have a funeral, we embalm the body. We have undertakers, funeral directors, who do incredible things with makeup and fillers and hairstyling. We put people who may have never worn a suit in their life, we put them in a fancy suit with a tie or a nice dress and jewelry, so that when people come to pay their respects, they're not faced with the indignities of death, but we put the departed as a sign of respect and love and care in the best possible situation that we can. Is that any different from Nicodemus bringing these ointments and perfumes so that as people come to the gravesite of this beloved rabbi, this beloved teacher, that they won't be confronted with the realities and indignities of death? That is human nature, to rebel against death and its consequences. Finally, let's look at a verb, actually a participle from our word of the week. This is in Mark 16, verses 23 and 24. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, pardon me, I don't know where that came from, but he didn't take it. And mixed with myrrh, esmornismenon, oinon. So oinon is wine, and esmornismenon is a passive participle mixed with myrrh, combined with myrrh, being mixed with myrrh. So remember, myrrh has medicinal use as well. And the thought here is that myrrh mixed with wine has a sedative effect or even a stupefying effect. This is a mercy for the dying. Drink some of this to dull your senses in this incredibly horrific and prolonged way of dying. So it's showing a mercy for the dying because humanity rebels against death. Even those who are carrying out a death sentence don't necessarily want to see someone suffer over a long period. But we're told Jesus did not take it because he fully embraced the consequences of sin, which included this horrific and prolonged death. So Smyrna, myrrh, replaced with myrrh, is our word of the week. As a solid, it's an incense. As a liquid, it's a perfume. Either and or are mixed with other compounds to make medicines for a variety of illnesses, and as such as medicine was. We can't know the real efficacy in any regard for whether these medicines did much or anything at all. But myrrh is our word of the week as we enter into December, and the phrase gold, frankincense, and myrrh will probably pop up on a Christmas card or in a hymn or a carol or some such thing. And there you have our word of the week. Hope that was good for you. Please like, share, subscribe, and until we see one another again, Karis Kairene Humin, grace and peace to you.